Hello, my name's Dr. Lou Jensen, and welcome to the premiere show of the Journey Television Network, the Discovery of Talent Network. This is the culmination of a 35-year dream, you know, one of those overnight success stories that takes you half a life to put together. Welcome to the program. This is going to be a fun show. I think you're going to get something that might even surprise you in the process. First of all, I'd like to introduce a couple of guests we have with us in the studio tonight. Tamara Littlefield is with us and has been a part of the network for a very long time. There's a lot of people watching tonight, Tammy, that really know and love you. Say hello.
There are. Thank you, and thank you for the introduction, and thank you for coming tonight.
And our other guest is Chris Gardner. Chris is my neighbor and my sidekick and my best friend. It's good to have you here tonight, Chris.
Thank you. I'm honored to be here on this special occasion. This is going to be special.
Quite a night, isn't it?
It's going to be fun.
It's going to be quite a thing. I want to talk first for just a second about the beginnings of what is really representative of the I&E Network. This has been a long time coming, and there's a lot of people involved. We literally have been interacting with each other to develop our talents for inspiration and encouragement for a good 25, well, how many years now, Tam? 26 years. 7 years?
27 or 28.
Something like that.
I can't remember.
We've been at it a long time. And
I'm old. What do you want me to know? All these numbers?
Just remember all those numbers.
Yeah.
We appreciate you coming and participating with us tonight, and I hope it will be something, we're going to kind of lay down some of the foundations of it. And it's also an honor of kind of a very significant moment in my own life. I built a brand new studio, and I'm going to do my broadcasts from this studio. And it's taken me quite a while to get this thing built and get everything ready and to start our own network.
And he didn't fall off the roof.
I didn't fall.
Metal roof, slick, right? Old man up on the ladder, and he didn't fall off. I'm thrilled.
Chris would call me every night, wouldn't you? And check.
I checked up on him to make sure he got in the house all right. But he built every bit of it himself.
It was just something else. It's something I had to do. It's something I dreamed of for a long time, and now it's an actual reality. And what happens as I share part of this vision with you, I've had a concept for a long time of what I call a perfect combination. It started with my story, then it started becoming our story. There were people who actually picked the equipment up that we produce and started doing really well with it, and we were somewhat of a network, weren't we?
An amazing thing was, you know, the people that would call and ask for help. Keith Hone being our first master, that came about on a very dark, rainy freeway in Dallas, Texas, where it was that idea of having masters was born. And from there, teaching, having them teach, you teaching, myself, and going all over it and teaching people has been really wonderful. And, you know, like you say, for a lack of a better term, network. But it's a group of people that are like-minded, that want to go down the path together. They don't want to do it alone.
Yeah.
They need that interaction. They need that help. They need that. You know, they're out where there isn't anybody that's doing artwork, and they count on us for that help and that inspiration. So thank you.
And the mixture of it is what surprised us all. We didn't
Very much
expect
so.
the fact that artists tend to kind of go at their lives and their livings alone, and boy, you start mixing with like-minded relationships, it's amazing.
How many times have we commented when we've all been together and talking amongst us that we gather the very best of humanity? I mean,
somehow
the people out that are
managed to sort it out pretty nicely.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any question anymore that life's a journey, and I found a plaque that's hanging in my studio that I want to share with you at this beginning moment. Living life. Life is not a race, but indeed a journey. Be honest, work hard, be choosy, Say thank you, I love you, and great job to someone each day. Go to church. Take time for prayer. The Lord giveth and the Lord taketh. Let your handshake mean more than pen and paper. Love your life and what you've been given. It is not accidental. Search for your purpose and do it as best you can. Dreaming does matter. It allows you to become that which you aspire to be. Laugh often, appreciate the little things in life and enjoy them. Some of the best things really are free. Do not worry, less wrinkles are more becoming. Forgive, it frees the soul, and take time for yourself. Plan for longevity and recognize the special people you've been blessed to know and live for today. Enjoy the moment. It's amazing to me how often I bump into those same kind of aphorisms, those things that really touch you. They are the strong, important cards of life. I found another one and I've engraved it on a wooden plaque, and I got to get it on the right side up here, by Marion Taylor, and this has motivated me for a very long time. Youth and age are not dates in time, but states of mind. Our duty is not to add years to our lives, but to add life to our years. Time may wrinkle the skin, but worry, doubt, hate, and the loss of ideals wrinkle the soul. Fears, not years, bow the head. Whether we are 70 or 17, a sense of wonder of life keeps us young.
Glennis told me one the other day that that goes along with that is, there's nothing to worry about, but there's lots to think about, but nothing to worry about.
I like that.
There's so many things like this. There's concepts where we've heard it and we know it's out there and we kind of get it a little bit here and there all along the way, but how in the world does somebody actually make it a part of their life? And that's what we're going to talk about tonight. That's what we're going to start into, is a direction of saying, what can we do to consistently transform our lives and pull our lives in a direction that improves our circumstances? Chris, have you watched when I started building this and wondered whether I would actually get it done or not?
I wondered if you'd survive getting it done or not, because I watched you come out. I mean, you remember when you first started, you rented a drill and drilled the footers into the dirt. First you got the tractor and leveled it all out. You got the drill and leveled, poured 2 yards of concrete into this studio, and then you just slowly took it from a piece of dirt to what you have today. And it's been really fun watching you and talking to you about it and visiting what you.
Considering the fact that I didn't really know what I was doing.
You had no idea what you were doing.
I've never done anything this large project.
But you did what you do what you tell everybody. You planned it out. Because you built a miniature replica of what you wanted. You just didn't go out haphazardly. You had a plan, and you knew what you were wanting to do.
And I went after it.
You did, and it was cool.
I wanted to talk to you a little bit about how come this got its start, and I want to kind of put it in concrete so that it's remembered from now on. In 1977, I was having an Easter egg decorating contest with my kids. And I'm a dentist, and my brother and I are both dentists in our hometown of Vernal, Utah. And one of the kids had put real fancy patterns all over his eggshell. And I got the crazy idea that I could cut out the patterns that kid had painted on that eggshell and finally win, because Dad never won. He wasn't much of an artist. And so this year I just went ahead and ran over the office with an eggshell, cranked it my drill on a Saturday, and hit that eggshell surface for the first time, and I was just flabbergasted. I thought I'd cut teeth for 8 years. I thought I knew everything there was to know about an ultra-high-speed handpiece. But it occurred to me that there was a whole lot of other uses for the really high-speed tools. So at first I thought what I'd stumbled onto was carving an eggshell. And in the process of learning how to use it and work with that process, I came on the idea one day. I picked up a little piece of plastic and I stuck an old spare turbine. We had one sitting on the counter getting ready to be repaired, and I put that turbine in the end of that, and I held it up and I went, straight high-speed drill. How unusual is that? That is something the whole world needs. And so I went from prototypes and designs where it got started. These were my last 2 handpieces I used in dentistry. And then we made some prototype models here, and then we built the first handpieces here that didn't last very long because we didn't do a very good job of designing those. And then we've ended up now with several different straight high-speed designs, one of which is, this is the primary handpiece that we market now. We actually have several models, don't we, Tam? We
There's
sell several different handpiece
there's
models.
2 that are oilless that are pretty nice tools.
Yeah,
This one has a lot more torque,
a
and
lot more torque, and it lasts way.
do you know?
longer.
Do you remember Richard, the our old mailman,
Mm-hmm.
Emo?
Yeah.
We called him Emo. His turbine was 20 years old this summer, and we rebuilt it.
Yeah, finally.
We finally rebuilt it, and it was 20 years old.
So the design idea of what can the world can you do with it actually started with an egg. And when I built Soulworthy, I decided, you know, I got to have an eggshell to basically launch or dedicate this. And so I carved an eggshell for this particular premiere moment. And it's the fulfillment of 30 years of dreams in many directions. And I want to take a second. I filmed the process, and so I'm going to turn it into a video to help teach you out across the world how to carve an eggshell. It's just amazing, the reaction of the public when you've got something like this that you can produce. So Dale, let's go through those quick, and we'll just scan some of them and then realize it's going to be a video, complete video later. Over my years, I've carved one really exceptional egg a year. I've just tried to really put a lot of thought into it, and a lot of people don't know how to compose. And to begin with, using patterns and stencils from somebody else is certainly acceptable as far as I'm concerned while you're learning. But the more you can get into originality and uniqueness, the better. And so as I started out this job here for this Soulworthy, I've been doing this for 2 years, getting the studio built. And I knew that the first thing I was going to do in this studio was carve an eggshell. So I've been thinking a lot about it, and I kind of, the other night on the web, I just stumbled onto something that just brought it all together. It all just seemed like it ought to be oriental in flavor, so I've been gathering ideas of things that I kind of liked. I thought the sculpting of that flower and then the leaves, but the leaves are quite a ways apart. But oh, look how that's arranged and laid out. Mother Nature does such a beautiful job. And then I started playing more and more with orange blossoms, apple blossoms, yeah, flower blossom orange special here. But then I stumbled onto this. This is I don't know if it's Japanese or Chinese calligraphy. I think that's Chinese. And the title of that Chinese is 2 forms is Shared Vision. And that just lit my fire, because that's really the whole idea of the I&E Network, is shared vision. So I wanted to put that right in the middle. So I started sketching and playing around with the concepts that I was after. And I did a rough sketch of these groupings and the branches in between, and I know I can touch everywhere, so there'll be a bridge complete to finish the shell. And then I did a larger version of it where I started to try and see how I might best sculpt these, the center portion. I don't know what they call those little things. My dad would know. Dad would have known. Up into that blossom, because it looks so dramatic. So on a larger scale, I'm going to cut them this size here. But then I had to take them down quite a bit more for the stencil, so I literally photocopied it, printed it out on the computer, and I'm going to sculpt shared vision on both sides of the Chinese calligraphic version. And then I shrunk the drawing that I did down a little bit more and made it that size, and then photocopied it onto the stencil. So let's get some composition going here and get this thing started. Oh, I'm excited. Everybody kind of gives me a bad time, teases me about my exotic roll of tape stand for the bigger eggshells, but I have not ever had one break when I use these while I'm carving. And we've learned that stories are what sell, and since this is kind of the center of the beginning of the television shows, the Journey TV, I wanted to put kind of that shared vision as the main focal point in this piece. So let's cut out the pattern and do a little positioning and kind of see what we've got, shall we? Okay. One of the things that really matters to me a lot, get that lined up, and obviously the really challenging part is going to be more that shared vision lettering. It's a little bit small. One of the things I do when I get a bubble in that stencil, I just sketched basically a band of unfinished. This is going to be really shiny shell like up here, and then I'm going to outline and relief cut the lettering so the lettering stays really dark and as dark and shiny as this, as will this. And the background will go lighter, or I'll do a matrix in it and have it go clear away and just leave the lettering. But I've got to have some kind of a cameo kind of effect because of the lettering and the graphics. And then I'm going to bring down the flower until it just touches that part. Now if you're going to forget and carve through that band with this flower here, then it's probably a good idea to take a pair of scissors and get that out of there, just so you won't forget. I've done it a few times, so it helps. Put them in little pieces and clusters. Let's see, I'd rather have that one up there like that. And then this one will move down and out. When I did the sketch, I went back in and bothered to shade all it in between the background. This is what I intend to cut out between the bridges and the leaves and the twigs of the tree. And that's the negative space. And one of the things that we've really tried to teach and watch is the balance between the positive space and how that seems compared to how much is the negative space. And I've tried to somewhat design it with 1/3 negative and 2/3 positive images. And I'm going to watch that really carefully as I carve, as I do my shell, because I don't want to have the impact of the negative space is just as important as is the positive space to help make it turn out like I'm hoping it will. Probably the greatest thing about getting the studio completely set up is that you just walk in and flip a switch and turn on your compressor, and you got everything right where you need it. And mine, I can leave it out while I'm working on it and not have to worry about anything happening to my projects. I could carve in my dust cabinet, which is the safer way to carve an eggshell for sure. But I also want to film this one, so it's back to the old dental office, and let's crank this thing out, shall we? I'm going to start on the the lettering, because I think that's where the potential for trouble is, and if I have a problem, then I can start over. But I really, I've got a very tiny 699 brand new one in here, and I'm going to go through very carefully now and outline, cut just on the outside edge of my whole pattern. Get that lettering on there, okay? How's that for some studio food? That man from Snowy Rivers, that isn't something else. I used to put this on every time we'd get the family in the Suburban and take off to the cabin or down to Lake Powell. Now, the trick is to try and make this part look attractive. So let's start right up in here and get some of this stencil off and kind of see if we can figure out how to carve this flower, because it's a little different than anything else I've done, and I need the flowers to really stand out. They gotta look extraordinary. So first thing I'm going to do is kind of sketch on there the center, and instead of this small as I've been drawing it, I want it to be a little bit bigger. Can you see that? So the center should be a little larger, and then there's these little stamens or pestils, whatever they are, out here all the way around, and they're clear out into leaf-aways. So what I'm going to do is take a really small round. This is going to be like I think this is a 2 or a 3, and I'm going to do these as dots first. And I've done this quite a bit before, so I'm not really flying totally blind. Then I'm going to take a 3/68 football diamond, and I'm going to come in here and see how this diamond is shaped, just like a football, and that point is so good at carving and shaping. So I'm going to come in and around these little circles that I put in there and just carve in and around them and drop that edge down a little bit on each petal, and then bring them, keep the petals separate, don't keep these edges up. Can you still see me? This is a brand new one. It's tough to call sometimes between when you want a brand new one and when you want to use a more worn burr. If I'm worried at all about how it's going to finish and control, I'll go to a brand new burr. Most of you wait too long on burrs. Now this one's going to be down underneath there, so this one's another petal. It's going to be down completely underneath all of those, and no stamens is visible. Go just like that. Oh man, I'm having the time of my life. I'm out in my studio and it's warm and atmosphere is just absolutely perfect for me. That's everything I love here, and I made it just the way I wanted it, which is how you should do your own studio, is gradually grow it as you can into most centered place, paradise. And that's going to have to be drawn right up on in between those two somehow. Tough. Okay, Now you can take this and go right down the top and just kind of score that center in there, and I don't want it to be absolutely perfectly round, and it'll cut it on kind of a bevel. You can see it better right there. See how it's got that bevel shape? Alright, now I'm going to go get a 699, and it will cut on the end and the side. So I can come in here now, and I'm going to just catch it right on this corner and just kind of draw it like a sunflower would be, or a really soft texture. Okay, and then each of these have a line right here. And just kind of got the line started, and then bring it back from here out. So I'm kind of rounding that area a little bit, connecting each of those little circles with a line. And the line should center from the center of the flower out to the little round circle that I've carved in. Now this is detail that a lot of people don't bother to do in their work, but boy, I sure think you should, because people who are going to collect your work will notice the details. People like James Christensen and Painter of Light, what's his name? Oh, I'm having a Rick Perry moment. Can't remember. Oh, wouldn't you just hate to be in front of 5 million people and forget? Yeah, that would be embarrassing. But I think he handled it well. He just went right at it. And a lot of people would do that just to be on Dave Letterman. Now, see how that's starting to look? I think that's going to be just about right. And here again, I spent a lot of time thinking about that, trying to figure out what would look good and how can I express it well and yet use the cutting tools I've got. And now I'm just go ahead and copy that one and that one and that one. This is the side of a flower, so you got to shape it with a 3/68. I probably ought to do that next. Now I really like to get the stencil out of the way here. From this point on, all it was for was graphic transfer. You're trying to get the carving done, and the stencil's pretty much just in the way. And so I usually use an edge of a X-Acto knife and then pinch it with my thumb and pull it right up. And get that stuff out of the way so you can see what you're doing. And in eggshell carving, there's an old saying of check twice and weed once. And what that means is you just can't put eggshell back very easily and recreate something you cut where you didn't want to. And since I was going to compose most of this as I went, I didn't want to have... Let's go back and get that 3/68 and we'll lay that in there for you, and then I'll do some relief carving and show you how pretty that's going to start to turn out. Did I mention I just absolutely love cutting eggshells like ivory? It's just, these thicker shells are just unbelievably grand to carve. And the reaction in the marketplace isn't too bad either. this one goes down on the outside and curves down underneath that edge. Now I'm going with the rotation here to just brush stroke it and take the surface of the shell off. Because this is the deepest edge here. And it's going to round right up to that edge right there, and that'll be undercut. Pretty big burr to get under and cut these areas out, so I'm going to leave those. See that one right there? Now we got to come back and do it in sequence, remember? Once you kind of get a routine figured out for how you're going to render the flowers, boy, don't change it, because it shows up usually. You can see it's been done differently somehow. Remember, I want those 3 dots out in there. Some are right in a row, some are a little longer than others. You don't want really tight symmetry. And then you want to come in and cut the center and do those outside petals. A little bigger than that, so I'm just going to cut right over it. And then this goes down and around those little rounded areas. Now you got to look kind of carefully here, because I'm cutting down that edge and almost undercutting it, but you don't want to get right to it, or it's going to blow those little edges. And then I leave this edge feathered right up to the outside edge of the leaf of the flower itself. And when I get them done, I'm going to cut them pretty thin so they look more like a flower. And I'll undercut them from the back side here and here, and go up underneath them, and then they'll. Now back to the 699, remember? And then this line goes right out here. It really helps to get the light down low when you're doing this one. So you can see how that little line goes there, and then goes there, and then goes there, and I'm actually rounding it a little bit right through there when I draw that out from the center. That. I think that's going to work really good when they're all cut and carved and finished. Remember how I just used that corner of the 699 here. All right. Okay, now this comes down here on the edge of that leaf right there, and you got to be really careful. If you've got a worn burr right now and you're coming along and cutting this edge, it'll pop and it'll tear a whole corner of that leaf, that petal right out, and then it's hard to correct that. So I just come in and I score it slowly, and undercut it with the 699 or even a 171. Cut that out of the way, and then guess I better have it where you can watch me. And then this goes up over. The branch is going to come up like this and down and over. And so I can literally bring this right up underneath there and undercut that too. Now the 699 is an end cutter, so it'll perforate and do a pretty efficient job once I've cut part of it through. See that right there's what I mean. I pop that little tiny edge right there. You gotta be really careful. Don't get in too big of a hurry. Then you can go over to the side, end cutting side, and drag it down just like that. That autofocus doesn't like. Isn't an egg, ostrich egg, amazing? The mother has to drop the egg and break it when the chick's ready to come out because it can't get itself out of the shell. So when you're cutting an ostrich egg, just remember, it's more like cutting cement. Okay. Now there's some more tricks to making that look even thinner, so I'm gonna do those a little bit later when I get everything all cut out in sections. Do that whole group right there, and then I'll bring you back and show you how it turned out, okay? Well, we're coming down to the end of it, troops. It's just about finished. I'm doing a random stippling background all around that calligraphy, and I've already isolated it. Let's turn down that iris just a little bit and see what happens. Okay, I changed the angle of the light a lot, and I want you to be able to see it as I finish this one up. Using the #1 carbide, come in and texture this background and isolate the calligraphy. And then the lettering. So shared vision on that side, calligraphy in the middle, and then that on that side. And kind of an overall canopy or a cameo effect on the front. There we go. Let's get it right where it looks pretty good. Oh, I love doing what I do. Guys, this is the culmination of a 35-year dream. A chance to do something beyond my own life that I never dreamed when it all started. Got my studio done, and I wanted to have a carved eggshell to first thing I ever did in the studio. And all I got to do now is bleach it and finish it up. I'm excited because the lettering and this border are the only part of the natural shiny ostrich eggshell that are going to be remaining. And then this will all be carved. I purposely did the cherry blossoms in a clusters, lots. You know how the tree, when they flowering fruit trees, when they take off in the spring, huh? Just a big massive ball of them, and I thought I'm gonna try that and see how that light. Could you have any more fun than I'm having? Well, we'll get her bleached, get her ready, and we'll have it a part of the premiere show coming up soon. So what I did was tempt you with some clips of what I've done is film the whole thing, and just wanted you to kind of see the overview of the creation of Shared Vision, because that's the beginnings of the new Journey Television Network. We're going to give a platform and a format for all artistically inclined people to show themselves and their work to the world. And I want this to be here at the studio and on display. You ever come to visit me at Soulworthy, it's going to be a lot of fun. So I'm going to make Tamarie be in charge of this now, because I have not a great track record with eggshells. Okay, Tamarie, here you go.
And you remember I broke one of your eggs too, besides you broke one of mine.
Don't bring that up.
Don't do that.
This one we're going to take care of.
Okay.
Shared Vision. This
is a beautiful egg, and I love it. Are you sure it's not cherry blossoms?
Yeah, it's got to be cherry blossoms.
Okay. Make sure that we've got that.
Some moments are more important than others, and this one feels so strong to me. The beginning of a whole new world.
Well, this is where it started.
Yeah.
This is where it started. So, nice job. I think you've done some beautiful eggs over the years, even the ones I've broke, the ones you have broke. So, this has been fun.
Keep this one intact.
Yep.
The whole mission of the Inspiration and Encouragement Network is to, first of all, help people discover that they have some talent and ability, and second of all, to do whatever we can to develop that talent. And from that point on, mastery is really a personal goal, a personal quest. I don't know how to help people much with mastery. It's just something, a desire that hits you right in the heart, and you just can't ever back off from then on. But the other really great part of the I&E Network is to help us do better in the marketplace. It's my dream that one day this circle will be the core that eliminates the starving artist syndrome. It's not the fault of the marketplace that people can't sell their work in the marketplace. It's because they don't know what they're doing usually. And so our whole Academy program is to help you go from your as-is world to something better in the process. So as you pick this up and begin to make it work out for yourself, every week we're going to have some things come towards you that will help you in your goal of what am I after and what am I trying to accomplish with this part of my life. I want to read you a quote from Florence Nightingale, somebody in the world who took circumstances that were really challenging and did wonders with their life. Never lose an opportunity of urging a practical beginning, however small, for it is in these often wonderful little moments that such matters as this mustard seed germinates and roots itself. That's how everything starts, is small. I don't know, you can't show me a thing in the marketplace more worthless than an eggshell. And yet in the last 35 years I've turned it into my entire life. And so that's possible for you to pick up an idea, pick up a dream, and pull it in a direction that actually makes it work for you as well. That's what we're after. John Kennedy came up with a quote written in Chinese. The word crisis is composed of two characters, one that represents danger and the other that represents opportunity. And isn't that how it goes? You have to sense and not fear the fact that you're moving in new directions, that you're trying to make something work and accomplish something that you never before thought possible. And I think as a circle, we help encourage each other to continue to actually try and make that happen. One of the things that is a constant thread through our circle, all of our members talk about it a lot. Feel yourself quietly drawn towards something that you deeply love. It's when preparation with opportunity generates what we always call as luck. To me, when people try to make things work and they force the issue, they're pushing their life, they're driving it so hard, you're missing all the whispers. You're missing all the occasions that might be really the reason you were born. Those little signals, those ideas that come to all of us, and then we either do something with them or that we don't. And this is the time to do something with them, to jump in and participate with us and see if we can't build this inspiration and encouragement support team that helps us to actually succeed and do it probably with a little bit more capacity than we've had in the past. Helen Rowland came up with a quote called, "The follies which a man regrets most in his life are those which he didn't commit when he had the opportunity." I sat in a meeting at the University of Utah one time, and we had an incubating group that helped develop new ideas, and it's when I'd first come up with the drill, and I was trying to find a way to make it work. And this guy from Wyoming came in. He was over 80 years old, and he had invented a new gate latch when he was 15 years old. It was an ingenious thing. But it's just a gate latch. And he said, "I didn't dare tell anybody. I've not shown anybody or told anybody about it my entire life, and now I'd like to do something with it." And all I could think of was, you stole it from yourself. You didn't even give it a go. Some things in life need to be pursued. And when you sense that feeling and you see those kind of potential opportunities, boy, you just have to do your best to really.
That's heartbreaking. That is heartbreaking.
Yeah, it was a.
To wait from a teenager to a man that's 80 years old. That's heartbreaking.
Yeah, what are you going to do at that point in your life? You really have to get after it. And of course, you hear me all the time. I've been doing shows on the internet now for 5 straight years, trying to prepare for a time when we would finally have our own network, and we're finally on our way. And Mark Twain, he says, I was seldom able to see an opportunity until it had ceased to be one. and I remind people of that all the time. It's incredibly easy to see opportunity after it's passed by. The trick of your life is to spot opportunity when it's actually something you can take advantage of. Most of us are not born very smart, and we have to learn everything. Learning to spot opportunity is no different. The best thing about learning to see opportunity is that we will start seeing a lot of new opportunity as we learn, and it becomes a habit. And that's what we're going to step by step, week from week, we're going to try and teach you how to take advantage of opportunities. I've got some opportunities next week that will just take your breath away. And just like my drill, you think about how fun it is for me. Every dentist on the planet who's ever used a high-speed handpiece in somebody's mouth has had that opportunity that I found sitting right in their hand, under everybody's nose, and nobody ever bothered to see it, much less go after it. And so it can be done for everybody. It's not just luck for me. It's the question now is, how can we transform your life? How can we make this work in your own individual world?
You say there's no mistakes. I guess you were the one that was supposed to do it.
They just sat around and waited for me, isn't it?
But it's not about the drill anymore, Lou. It's about the experiences we've had over the last so many years, 30 years, and it is about helping others now
figure out how to do it.
To find their way. That's what it's
really
about
is.
now.
What I want to do is challenge every one of you watching this program right now. In the next 50 weeks, could you transform your life? And honestly shift some gears, make some new things happen in your world. And you got to admit to yourself, it doesn't happen with great big transformations, great big changes. That's not how life really goes. It's the little adjustments, something every week. And as you become a part of the I&E Network, I'm going to put out a concept with every show that will be a transitional lesson. I'm going to try and pull the things out of it that I've learned the most lessons with, Chris. And we're going to try and put them into your life and see if those lessons can somewhat rub off on you. What do you think?
Excited. I think it's going to be fun. This is going to be the launching of something very special for anybody that even thinks they have the opportunity or the ability. Give it a shot. Because, I mean, I cut my very first piece of glass last week, and it was fun. I was flying higher than a kite for 3 days afterwards. I can't wait to go to the next one.
It turned out really well, didn't it?
It did.
Yeah, you did a good job. And I think it's that consistency that has made our program work, where we're not in for the flash, we're in for the long haul. And I've got 34 masters in the program now that we're going to gradually introduce to all of you. And those consistent, persistent changes are what has produced the results in their individual lives. And we're trying to help everybody we can to take their life from an amateur basis and as-is world to something better and dream up something that will actually work. I call it a passionate prescription.
I call it traveling in good company.
Yes, Tammy's come up with a concept. Where were we when you hit that nail on the head?
Everett, Washington. We were up teaching a class with Keith, and we went into a gallery, and there was a picture, and you told me, come over here and look at this. And it was a beautiful sailing ship, and you don't like ships or anything like that. They're just all around the studio. And they had orcas that were following them. And the caption on the name of the picture was Traveling in Good Company, or Traveling in Good Company, or Traveling in Company. And we both just really got excited about the fact that that's what we do. We travel in good company. Following Keith all over the country has been really fun, teaching classes with him, and bless him, I'm excited that he's still with us and still going to be doing some work with us.
When I was trying to find a way out of dentistry and to chase a dream, the whole world thought I was absolutely stark raving crazy to consider quitting dentistry halfway through my career. And when I finally made those choices and those decisions, I've gone back through it to try and see how did I gradually shift it, because I was careful. I didn't do anything foolish, and neither should you. Don't quit your day job. Make it a hobby. Start it with something fun, and don't do anything that isn't fun. And gradually pull your life into directions that you want. And if we can't help you with that once a week for the next 50 weeks, we ought to be able to make that kind of transition for you. And I think when you see the lives of others who've gone through these same 7 steps, we've really dug at it to try and see how in the world did Greg Woodard take his life from cabinet maker to world champion bird and falcon carver. And how has Al Hone taken his life from cabinet work and woodworking to becoming one of the best furniture designers, Western furniture designers in the whole world as well. And every one of these people have gone from amateurs and beginners to James Jensen, who got started with an airbrush and has just gone on with amazing things in his life. Once you kind of get a pathway figured out and you can see that, well, if somebody else can do it, then there's a good possibility that I can do it.
Yeah.
Isn't that how it works, Chris?
That's the fun part of it, is you look at the people. Then I call you every day and talk. Who did you talk to yesterday? I come over to bother you for a few minutes, and you were on the phone with Darwin for, I'll bet you were on an hour before when I was there, and I bet longer than that. But it was so fun to hear you two talking and interacting with each other, and you do that with everybody. So if you have an idea that you even want to try it, pick it up and give it a whirl, because I know it'll make some amazing. It'll influence your life and drive your life in a way that you don't even know about yet.
Yeah. I want you to take a moment and set aside now a spot in your life. Pick out a private little space. I don't care how much room there is to begin with. Create a studio, a discovery studio of your own, okay? Set it aside, make it specific. It doesn't hurt to dress it up with things like I've got in my studio. And as I show you the studio and invite you here every week to come play with me, basically, I hope what it'll do is encourage you to get to the point where you can have this dedicated space of your own. Get yourself a part of this ship of dreams. It really is an amazing transition when it starts to become a dedicated, sacred spot. And then let me know whether you're going to be a part of the Discovery Studio Circle, and let's just pour it on and see if we can make something happen, okay? Tamarie, I want to thank you for being here tonight, but thank you for being alongside of this dream for so many years. No one
It's
has...
been a trip. It's been...
I just promised her that
it's not been dull.
it wouldn't be dull.
No, it's not been dull.
And
No,
that it hasn't been.
You know, one of the choicest things, I think, for me personally, is I don't know, is it the network, is it the customer, is it, but they become friends. They become very
pals.
special people, they become friends. And it's wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. And Chris, it's such an exciting time. We've known each other a very long time, but you're finally seeing the vision here, and we're just getting your training program started. And
I'm excited to see where it's going to go. I can't hardly wait till we can keep going, and I can do the things. I can do the eggs like you did, and I can do the things like I see the pictures of all the work that your masters have done. And I think, man, if I try hard enough, one of these days
I can be a master.
I can do that.
Yeah.
And that's what's exciting is if you can dream it up, you can make it happen.
Yeah.
And you're the
I
only
just
one
had
that
a-
controls it.
I just had a really good idea. Let's show them your gun, Keith Holmes' gun, next week, okay?
Okay.
Oh,
I'd
you
love
guys
to
just,
show
you
that.
can't
I
believe
love to show that gun off.
It's
That's-
one of Keith Surley's
it's
pieces,
cool.
but it's a gorgeous piece. So we'll bring that
Yes.
next week and let you see some of that as well, okay? Well, thank you very much. We appreciate you taking your valuable time. We really need your support. Everyone you know to get involved and to watch. These programs are going to be now permanently on the web, so you can get a chance to kind of see what's going on. And then, oh, bingo! Man, I got a surprise just coming in right now. Guess who's here?
Sneak in over here.
This is
Hi, Baba.
this is my daughter Tamika. I want to introduce you to one precious part of my life, and Tamika's really involved in doing what we're doing. You got a blasting project right now.
I sure do.
Just finished carving a gun.
Did my first gun of this over the summer.
Okay.
I'm excited to get some things going little by little.
Well, what do you think about this new beginning?
I'm excited.
Pretty complicated to begin with, but
I'm really proud of
it's
you.
gonna
I
work.
think you're doing a good job.
We're getting it done. All right, everybody. Thank you. And we'll see you next week. Same time, same place. Oh, and with the new format now, you can go see it anytime you want. And you can
Okay.
invite others too. Okay? Good night.
Good night.